Hey YouTube fans, this is Skye here, aka the big sister of the blues, and finally I get to do this. I'm going to read you all the story of Angry Birds, Red's Got the Blues. Alright, are you ready? Here we go. First we show some pictures. Here we go. It was another wonderful day on Bird Island, but Red was having none of it. He was in a bad mood. Judge Peggingpaw was unveiling a new statue in the center of Bird Village later that day, and Red was not looking forward to going. He wanted to be left alone as he sat and ate his lunch at his favorite spot in the Bird Feeder restaurant, in the corner by himself. The waiter had just brought over his plate of worms when he saw the blues. Jim, Jake, and Jay approached his table. "Oh no," he grumbled to himself. "I just want to be left alone." Except when you're with Indigo, of course. And Faith now, anyway. "Hi, Red," said Jake. "What are you up to?" "What does it look like?" replied Red. "Having lunch." "Can we join you?" asked Jim. "I'd really like to be by myself," said Red. "I'm not in the mood for company today." "But you're never in the mood," said Jay. "Please let us join you. Please." "Please," Jim and Jake chimed in. All three birds gave Red their biggest, sweetest smiles. Red sighed. He found it hard to say no to the blues. "Okay, fine," he said, "but don't bother me." Same old Red. Even after letting Indigo into his life, he's still the same old grouch we know him by. As they ate, Judge Peggingpaw approached their table. "Good afternoon, Mr. Red," he said. "I hope you and your friends are having an enjoyable lunch. I just want to make sure you'll be at the dedication of the new statue in the village this afternoon." "Great. Another boring ceremony," replied Red. He did not look impressed one bit. "Who is the statue of?" "Why, me, of course," the judge proudly replied. "You're dedicating a statue of yourself?" Red asked. "Isn't that kind of ridiculous?" "Ridiculous!" Judge Peggingpaw cried. "How dare you suggest something like that? I am the hardest working bird around. I am responsible for the safety and security of every bird on this island. Also, Winter's only guardian. Since you are her uncle, after all. Although I'm glad she's nothing like you, man." Okay, I'm sorry," said Red. "I didn't mean to ruffle your feathers. I'm sure you deserve that statue more than, well, some other bird." "I am the one who keeps order around here," the judge continued. "And without order, what is there?" Disorder?" said Red. "Exactly," replied Judge Peggingpaw. Even so, kind of like Winter, he's right full of himself, but not as much as Winter. Thank goodness. The blues did not like the judge or how he was talking to Red. They decided to play a prank on him. Jay reached over the table and grabbed the pepper shaker. He passed it to Jake, who passed it to Jim, who proceeded to dump the contents right into the pocket of Judge Peggingpaw's robe. Oh boy. The blues could barely keep from laughing out loud at their clever trick. Only my brothers would do such things. Them and Poppy. Beneath his judge's robe, Cyrus began to fidget. Suddenly, he sneezed, and Judge Peckinpah almost lost his balance and fell over. "Cyrus, be careful!" the judge whispered. "Sorry," Cyrus said, poking his head out from underneath the judge's robes. "I shall leave you to your meal. I'll see everyone soon for the dedication." "I wouldn't miss it," said Red. The minute the judge left, Red rolled his eyes. "Great. Just what I wanted to do this afternoon. Spend more time stuck with other birds." Aw, come on now, Red. Didn't you learn anything in the first movie? Let's just hope things don't go worse for you, though. Oh, wow. Look at that statue. Make himself look as cool as possible. Lame. Don't tell Winter I said that, though. A large crowd of birds had gathered in the center of Bird Village. Red stood with the Blues as they all waited for Judge Peckinpah. Red shook his head when he saw how large the statue was. It looked almost as big as the one of Mighty Eagle that stood behind Bird Court. Finally, the judge appeared, but he seemed to be walking a bit shakily. Red could hear sneezing coming from under the judge's robes, and it was getting louder by the minute. Ugh, who knew pepper makes you sneeze? "Good afternoon, citizens of Bird Island," said the judge as he tried to steady himself. "I am humbled and proud to welcome you all here today to dedicate the statue—" "Wachoo!" interrupted Cyrus as he let out a big sneeze. Judge Peckinpah cleared his throat. "As I was saying," he continued, I am humbled and proud to welcome you all—" "Wachoo!" Judge Peckinpah tried to ignore Cyrus's sneezing, but some birds in the crowd had started laughing, especially as the judge kept losing his balance each time Cyrus sneezed. Cyrus? More like sinus. "Pardon me," said Judge Peckinpah as he tried to continue as if nothing was wrong. "I am proud to dedicate this statue in my honor to the good citizens of Bird Island, who are truly—" "Wachoo!" This time Cyrus sneezed so loudly and so strongly that it knocked Judge Peckinpah right off of him and sent the small bird flying through the air. Oh boy. I kind of had a feeling that was coming. The judge hit the ground with a thud as the crowd gasped. He lay on the grass, tangled up in his robes, as Cyrus kept sneezing and sneezing. Most of the birds tried to keep from laughing as the judge struggled to untangle himself. When he finally managed to stand, the judge reached into his pocket to get a handkerchief for Cyrus. Instead of his handkerchief, he pulled out a big mound of pepper. "Who is responsible for this?" he shouted. "I want to know which bird would do something like this to embarrass me and ruin my special moment." Judge Peckinpah saw Red standing next to the Blues, who were all laughing hysterically. "Mr. Red! I should have known it was you!" the judge shouted. "Just as I suspected. Hasn't changed a bit." "Me?" said Red in surprise. "I had nothing to do with this." "Who else could it be? You have a history of anger and violence," said the judge as he dusted himself off. A history that has seen you in my court before." "I'm telling you," Red said, losing his cool, "it wasn't me." "I don't believe you," continued the judge. "I'm very disappointed in you, Mr. Red. Very disappointed and distraught. But it wasn't me, Red said. We'll settle this matter lawfully. I'll see you in Bird Court first thing tomorrow morning. But this was not Red's fault. It was my brother's. Can't my brothers just own up when they should? Though this really isn't the first time they've done this. They actually got me blamed for something I didn't do. They did themselves, but I'll save that for another time. Jim, Jake, and Jay decide that now was the perfect time to leave. But before the judge realized they were... Okay, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Jim, Jake, and Jay decided that now was the perfect time to leave before the judge realized they were responsible. They tried to sneak away, but too many birds were blocking their path. Judge Peckingpaw was climbing back on top of Cyrus while he argued with Red. Cyrus was still sniffling and sneezing. You have to trust me. It's not my fault, said Red angrily. But once again, you have proven that you are not worthy of trust, the judge said, as Cyrus let out another sneeze. Judge Peckingpaw sighed and searched his pockets for his handkerchief. Oh, I knew the judge hadn't changed, and this story here proves it. Why should I believe you, Mr. Red? Asked the judge as he finally pulled out his handkerchief. Judge Peckingpaw was shocked as he looked at the handkerchief. There were several blue feathers stuck to it. Feathers that matched the blues exactly. Uh-oh, now they're in trouble. The judge suddenly realized who was behind the prank. Busted. You three are responsible, he shouted at the blues as they tried to hide. Well, I don't even know what to say. That's a first, muttered Red. He turned to the blues. I knew you three were up to something. I should have known that spending time with Mr. Red would rub off in a bad way, huffed the judge. But this is too much. Seriously, you're still blaming Red after... Hey now, said Red. None of this is my fault. They're hatchlings, and hatchlings sometimes get into trouble. You can't order them to court, too. Well, good that he's standing up for them. The judge was silent for a moment as he thought things over. I cannot send them to court, no, he said, but I can send them home. I think these blues need some time to think about what they've done. And since you're so fond of them, you can be the one to accompany them home, Mr. Red. Now be gone before I change my mind and punish you all. Honestly, Winter would not approve. That's okay. No need to apologize to me or anything, said Red as Judge Peckingpaw walked away. Ugh, that bird really makes me mad. After Red walked the blues to their home, he breathed a sigh of relief. He finally had some peace and quiet again. He was looking forward to spending the rest of the day with the only bird he truly liked being with. Himself. Well, Indigo and Faith should be the ones who are important to you too, because technically you did adopt them both. The end. So, what'd you guys think of this story? I personally thought it was pretty good, despite the judge being a big jerk again, as he was in the first movie. Seriously, what is his deal with Red? Just because he had a history of anger and violence doesn't mean he's a bad bird. I mean, he adopted 2 little kid birds for crying out loud. How is that a sign that's a bad person? Ugh. Some birds. Just some birds. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this. This has been Skye, Big Sister of the Blues, saying goodbye, YouTube fans, and happy 15th anniversary, Angry Birds.